Hi, this is Paula Bradison, and I am with People AK. Today, I am proud to start a brand new podcast, and my very first guest is Natasha Van Imhof. I've destroyed her name. I'm getting off to a bad start already. You may know her as Natasha Rasmuson, longtime Alaskan. Can't wait to hear about all of her gifts and all of her contributions to our state. Natasha, it's so great that you're here today. I appreciate it so much. My very first podcast, so a little nervous, a little off my normal game. I was hoping to have 2 or 3 guests on before you, so I could warm up to and be really polished and ready. And so you're getting just full
raw Paula.
Yes, raw Paula. Here you go. I know a little bit about you. It's Natasha Van Imhof. Tell me a little bit about just. If I hadn't met you first time out, where do you come from? Why are you here? And when I say here, I'm talking about Alaska.
So I'm 4th generation Alaskan. When I made the decision to stay, and I made it, and I remember this vividly, I was right after college in my early 20s, and it was a June beautiful day, and I had hiked up to kind of Little O'Malley in the Chugach Range. And I think there comes a time, do you want to stay in Alaska? Are there opportunities? This is where you grew up. This is what you know. I've been lucky. I was lucky enough to kind of travel a little bit in my teens, and I went out of state for college, but then I had to make the big decision, and a lot of my friends were actually going out of state. And I remember bringing my lunch and sitting there among all the wildflowers, looking out over Anchorage, and I stayed there all day, and I made the decision at that point to stay. And within a month, I met my husband. Oh, wow. And we were married a year and a half later. We're celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary next month.
Congratulations.
And we have 2 kids. And I actually am falling in love with Alaska more and more as I get older. And as I travel to different places, I've been very fortunate to visit Europe and Iceland and Patagonia and New Zealand, similar to Alaska. There's no place like home.
There isn't, and I love that. I fell in love with Alaska and decided I'd never leave when I was 5 on Jerome Road. I think you're familiar with the area, very close to what you're describing, because I can remember a spring day when the pussy willows would come out, and how exciting it was for me every spring to just rejuvenation of the state, which is actually the premise for me asking you to be here. Our paths have crossed a few times, embarrassingly so. The last time I saw you, the quote that comes to mind is actually Einstein, not to put you on the spot, but it's something akin to if you don't know it, or if you can't say it simply, you don't know it well enough. And you had just given Rotary, I think it was, a presentation, not a political presentation, an informational presentation on, hey, this is what the PFD does. This is what our permanent fund does for the state. And I became a fan and then realized that our paths have crossed over and over again, but I really don't know you. So I appreciate the candor and the ability of dropping everything and coming on the podcast. That commitment to Alaska is the premise of the podcast, and I have so many questions. The first is that each time I've met you, I've been surprised the variance between public Natasha and the one I get to talk to seldomly, and all the different things that you do. You're an author and a mom and an Alaskan at core. So tell me a little bit about one of your favorite hobbies. Give me something that people wouldn't generally know about you.
I picked up the harmonica a few years back. I'm not very good at it, but I played it at my house full bore and until my dog howled. And then at that point I had to put it down, but I can play Oh, Susanna really well.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Our family growing up and at 5 years old to now is taught us to love where you are and fully engage. and just immerse yourself in every aspect. Enjoy the people, obviously. The people is what makes the place. And then there's the place. And for Alaska, it's the forest and the running trails and the mountains and the lakes and the streams. And then it's the businesses, and then it's Rotary, and then it's our arts and our theater and our parks, and immerse yourself in it and be involved, and not just with money, but with time and attention and energy, and sincerely and authentically engage in a meaningful way that always moves the community forward in a positive and loving way.
I think that's so counter to what I'm seeing is so much published right now, and super excited. And the reason we named the podcast is People AK. I've got a very dear friend that moved away, and she said the number one thing I miss about Alaska are the relationships, my friendships, the way that you forge friendships in Alaska, right? It can be at work, it can be fishing, it can be hiking, it can be through your kids, all the things that you just mentioned, and they're long lasting. We have to be rugged in one aspect, but also I think the people that maybe get weeded out are the ones without the heart, without the tenacity and the commitment to community. I think there's actually a business model behind that. I've talked to people about that I think it's generational. Fun fact, I think way back in the day, your dad helped my dad get into his small business. And so I'm also fourth generation. And so more on the blue collar side than the banking side, but what a gift that he gave our family to create a start. And now I'm a fourth generation small business owner. And it just...
That's fantastic.
As I mentioned, our paths continue to cross. You can't run, apparently, so...
Well, Paula, I appreciate it. I'm so glad that you're here, fourth generation. I think that's a testament of the people that are here that are making this community vibrant, welcoming, varied, so we can have all sorts of things to do to meet any number of needs. And I hope to remain involved in a meaningful way. And I am with the Rasmuson Foundation. I'm vice chair, and I've traveled all over the state in the last several years doing community conversations and really just listening to what's going on in each community. And they're very different. And even though communities nearby, Petersburg versus Wrangell, for example, Valdez versus Cordova, similar, yet different.
Right.
And it's fascinating. And what I'm finding in each one of these locations, and we've been to the four that I mentioned, as well as Naknek, King Salmon, Fairbanks, Kotzebue, Nome, just in the last year or so. Everyone that I'm finding, here's the common thread: passion and commitment to their community. And people are standing up and becoming involved. And it takes time and it takes energy and it is sacrifice. But I also see people just becoming energized and passionate and seeing the results of their efforts. And I just get completely goosebumps and motivated and want to keep going.
Yeah. I keep telling my children, now grown, do one small thing for your community every single day. It doesn't have to be the same thing. And to your point, it doesn't have to be monetary. It might be picking up a piece of trash that nobody else wants to. It doesn't matter what the gesture is. Just leave it a little bit better from today until tomorrow. And if we were all with that mentality, if we can shift some of the concern and turn it into care, I think we've got some work to do.
I like that. Shift from concern to care. So one of the things that I've noticed, of course, after being in politics
No, we're not talking about it today.
Well, no, but we're going to talk about a lessons learned. How about that?
Fair enough.
So starting in school board way back in 2012 through the Senate, what I've learned is that there's many people that can identify the problem, both politicians themselves and then the greater public. The harder part is to actually identify solutions, find the money to pay for those solutions, and then get people rallied around knowing that there's trade-offs for those solutions. You're not going to make everybody happy, but that we have to have solutions, and we need people involved to switch, pivot from identifying the problem to manifesting the solutions and making them go forward.
That's a surprisingly blue collar perspective. That's why I was so excited knowing what your academic background is and actually seeing that you are doing things with the education that you have. And as I mentioned, sharing it in a way that transcends socioeconomic boundaries and different communities. I think it's really important to have people like you out educating, which is why, again, I was excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Paula.
So tell me about this book.
Oh.
So I went, as much as I love Alaska, the whole premise of this, and my family hears it ad nauseum, I'll never leave. I might try to sneak over to Hawaii once a year. It's a quick, cheap, inexpensive, I should say, airfare. And I picked up your book and I read it from beginning to end. And the very first thing I thought is this should be a movie. I didn't know you well enough or at all. A friend of ours, the mutual friend Holly, had said, hey, Natasha has this book. You need to pick it up. I didn't put it down. Tell me where the inspiration for that first book was and why isn't it a movie yet?
So thank you. So it was in the fall of 2019. So I've actually been a writer my whole life, and ideas come to me and they come really fast and furious. And so I will go manic, let's say, for 2 to 3 days and get it all and do a download. And then I stop. So I have like 5 unfinished manuscripts on my computer. It happened again in the fall of 2019. And what was happening was my kids were graduated from high school and they were looking for college. And as I was going on the campuses looking at colleges, all the 25 years prior of my college experience just came flooding back. And you're like, whoa, what would I do differently this time?
Yeah.
And I kept on thinking, gosh, youth sometimes is wasted on the young when you have all this wisdom and all this experience. You didn't know it when you were 18 and 19. You know it now. And so the book came to me.
Tell me the title again.
The title is Double Shot of Living. And it's about a 50-something woman who goes out and has a girls' night out and has one too many drinks. And on the way home, she accidentally kills herself in a drunk driving accident. But she wakes up the next morning in the body of a 16-year-old girl living 3,000 miles away. And she's like, what just happened? What is this? Calls her husband, founds the girl's phone, does facial recognition, calls the husband. The husband's like, I don't know what the hell you are. This is a prank call. I just identified my wife's body. She's dead. And the girl's like, I'm dead? I'm not, but I'm in this weird body. So the whole book is about her going back to high school, rediscovering why this happened, how it's happened, and what her mission is. And then she has the second half of the book to, in essence, fulfill that mission. And then at the very end, she's a senior in high school. She applies to Duke and she gets in. And she's going to Duke, and she doesn't realize it, but her son had transferred to Duke as a junior. So the book ends with her meeting her son at the college campus and then her deciding what to do.
I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Here's a fun question. Why Duke? Knowing your academic background.
It's funny that you say that. So when it was time to decide the college, I just sat back and the universe spoke to me. I saw a Duke bumper sticker. I saw a Duke baseball cap. Someone ran around, this is all in Anchorage, with a Duke jacket. I was like, Duke. It was crazy how much Duke I saw. I don't even know Duke. I've never been to Duke. And I was like, Duke it is.
I just had to ask.
It just was the weirdest thing. I just was like, I don't know where she should go to college. And I decided that that's what I wanted her to do. And it took about a week and that's what came up.
That is so great. That's so great. Thanks for answering that. And then are you continuing to write?
So yes. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But what was interesting is about a year ago, out of the blue, a Oscar-winning screenplay writer did contact me, and together we wrote a screenplay on Double Shot of Living. And it's like a 45-minute, 50-minute pilot. And I don't know anybody in the industry, but he does. And he's given it to 6 streaming services. Well, of course, nothing's happened because that's what happens. They just sit on it. And I have to acknowledge that whole industry is shifting in real time and accelerating in all sorts of different ways that they're still reinventing themselves. But I have a screenplay out there. So one of my ideas was to hire a videographer here locally. And I wrote 5 storyboards for 45 to 60-second videos for the first 2 chapters of the book, and then just start teasing them on social media, on Book Talk and others, and see if I can get Netflix to notice.
Yeah, some traction. How cool.
Yeah.
That's an industry I know nothing about. So
Ditto.
I think that's really cool. So let's see. Okay, so author, right? You've run for and served in public office. You're sitting on how many boards?
4.
And what motivates you to be a part of a board? And what are they? Tell us what the passion is behind that.
So interestingly, I'm on the Rasmuson Foundation board and the Atwood Foundation board, and that's a family connection. I am on the Alaska Chamber board because I heavily believe in it. Business is, I think, the backbone of one of the many backbones of our state. And I love the people that I serve with. I have high respect with Katie, Lydia, and Kari there. And I absolutely believe in what we do. The 4th board I'm on is the Seattle Children's Hospital board, Seattle Children's Hospital Foundation. And that's because in 2016, my daughter had a brain tumor and she was having headaches and her vision was starting to go blurry. We brought her into the ER. She had a very significant tumor that when you draw a line between your ears and the top of your head, it intersects. It's deep, deep, deep. And so we rushed her to Seattle Children's because there's not very many people that will go that deep in a person's brain to get out the tumor. It's about the size of a golf ball. And the doctor basically said she'll probably live for her high school graduation, but she won't for her college. She'll die. So your choices are you have surgery or you say goodbye to your daughter. And that was one of the most difficult decisions of our lives. And that was when I was running for state senate. So I got down to the hospital. This is what's so interesting. And I said, well, this was in July. And I said, well, I'm done. The primary's next month. I'm going to pull out. I can't do this. And the doctor looked at me, and he's this renowned surgeon that's still one of my closest friends. And he said, no, we'll get rid of it. It's fine. You keep running. What the last thing your daughter needs is next January when you're supposed to go down to Juneau, do you be hovering over here? Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Did you just sneeze? Did you just hiccup? What can I do? She does not need that.
That's profound.
Oh, so what I would do is, and we're going to talk about this for a few minutes, because I couldn't talk about it for a while.
I'm having a hard time listening to it, so don't make eye contact and we'll be fine.
So I would spend a week at Seattle Children's holding her hand in a very darkened room as she prepared for surgery and then she recovered from surgery. Then I would go back to Alaska while my mom or my husband stayed, and I would campaign for 2 full days for 8 to 12 hours a day, changing outfits and taking pictures. So people thought that I was in more places than I really was. And then they would publish those on social media and others. And then I would go back and quiet and hold her hand in the hospital. And then she was released at the very beginning of August, 3 weeks before the primary. And she went door to door with me. That was part of her therapy, was just to start walking again. And she had to kind of learn all those things again, but she did it. And we were such a big part of the doctors and the whole staff that they asked me to serve on the board. And so I'm in my 9th year and I'm terming out after this last year. And our foundation's been we've actually given money a couple times now to Seattle Children's for a brain scan, because Seattle Children's will have about 150 kids from Alaska at any given time. It's the WWAMI, so it's Washington, Alaska, Montana, Idaho. So they serve that whole area. But when I come to the board meetings, they have a map and they'll have pins of where the kiddos are from. And they're from Unalakleet and Bethel and Fairbanks. And they're usually complex cases, like really funky stuff that is difficult for any doctor to deal with. And so these kids are being served in Alaska or in Seattle. And so our family's given, and Rudy and I personally have given money to help serve kids, Alaskan kids that are there. And right now we're kind of looking at providing an incubator for babies to fly from Alaska on either a life flight or even, I don't know if it's going to be Alaska Airlines, but an incubator for kids that need to go to Seattle that are really tiny.
Right.
So I am inspired every time, and it's 4 meetings a year, and sometimes I do them on Zoom, but a lot of times I just fly down there. And that is where passion meets purpose. And I know what they've done with my daughter, who's great now. It's been almost 10 years. She has some short-term memory, and thank you, Paula, for letting me do all this.
Absolutely.
She has some short-term memory, and we try not to make fun of her, but sometimes we joke about it. And the last thing I'll say is, I don't know what happened, but now she does puns every day, and they're grown worthy. And she never did them before, and they did something rewiring, and now she does puns.
Oh, that's fantastic. So just another connection. My oldest daughter is ready to deliver any day. Her chosen name for my granddaughter to be is Stevie. And Stevie was my stepfather. My father loved him. Our family adored him. He was just revered and died of a condition of the brain, actually encephalitis as an adult, which is really rare. So the short-term memory, a lot of different things that kind of transpired. So I was having a hard time holding it together. Didn't know we were going to have that conversation. I have the immediate question I have for you is, how can you tolerate when someone says that you are not socially engaged, or that you're not connected to community, or they question your compassion or your commitment to Alaska?
It takes, I've grown a lot in the last, 50 something years, but in the last 10 for sure. And we are all suffering from the same human condition. And we are all connected, and we are all part of this thing called life. I have developed more patience, more understanding, and also just a higher viewpoint. People oftentimes come from a place of fear and a lack of control. I just don't take it personally. They don't know me, and I don't know them. And I just kind of put forward just a face of compassion, not even a face. Like, I just put forward a level of compassion and empathy, because everyone has stuff going on in their life. Doesn't matter your social, economic, doesn't matter whether you're young or old, rich or poor, it doesn't matter. Everyone has really hard stuff going on in their life. And who's to judge and say, your stuff's harder than my stuff? Everyone's got stuff. And to me, if you end up with compassion and integrity and honesty and hard work and a loving heart, who cares how you got there? As long as you got there.
That's sort of the premise of this whole people thing. It's commitment, and how does it show up to work? And I don't mean that from a vocation. I mean it from something that's a little bit higher. And I think maybe a higher power kind of spoke to me the same way in having kind of a low point myself. Somebody said, keep your chin up. And for some reason, a term I'd heard my whole life, all of a sudden I realized what that really means is look up. Look up and look out, because yes, things do pass, things do change, sometimes in a way we want them to, sometimes in a way they don't. But it brought me right back to all of these relationships and this insane love for our state. And what I'm starting to learn is that when I travel now, and it's been since college, I've been blessed to be able to travel quite a bit. the fascination with Alaska. And what I've learned is it's actually the fascination with the people who live here and what we're doing to stay here, whether it's through education, hobby, vocation. It's the people that come back that really are rooted here, or that they're fascinating to me, because I think everybody has their own story, to your point.
Everyone has their own story. And similar to your stepfather, Stevie. So my dad also died of a brain tumor. So brain tumors seem to run in our family. But to I'm going to say this, and I'm taking a risk because, but I believe it to be true. So I think that there is a higher power, because 4 days before my dad's funeral at 2:00 in the morning, I was awake, but groggy. Mm-hmm. And I heard, "Hi, Tasha," in my dad's voice in my head. And I went, "Dad? Dad?" And he went, "Listen." And he gave me these 3 things. Life is a gift, not a grind. Daily conflicts are puzzles, not problems. Life is outside, not in the office. And I remembered those things, and I still say them, and I still think about them. It's similar to chin up. And that's why I believe that my dad is still around. I believe Stevie is still around. I believe our loved ones are still here. They're just different. I believe Chris Birch, who I miss dearly, who passed away in 2019, is still with us, just in a different way. I still think about him. So I live, there's no problems, conflicts. They're just puzzles to work out each day.
That's so awesome. What makes you giggle?
Really good comedy that just pokes fun of life. I think Jerry Seinfeld's really funny, and it's clean, and I actually think it's really funny. Nate Bargatze, I think is how you pronounce his name, his Ton Papas. I'm just watching these, like on Netflix, I'm watching these different, what was her name? Kathleen Hannigan or Horrigan?
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Madigan. Gosh, she's funny.
She is.
So I'm just watching that these days.
Are you? Good. And then what do you do to sort of burst out? You're so busy. I still don't understand time management in Natasha's world. I don't know how you manage all of that. So good for you. Where do you let your hair down?
So I have a headlamp and a blinky vest and a really good pair of boots, and I just go out on the trails all the time. And I had a dog, trusty dog Jago, for 14 years, who passed away this past May, who went with me, and he had his own little blinky collar. But I'm still going out. I know as many trails as I possibly can discover in and around Anchorage. And I go after work. I go in the mornings. I go during the day whenever I can find some time. And I take in the energy from the snow, the trees, the flowers, whatever it is. For about an hour. I love it.
What's the one thing I should be asking you that I've missed completely?
What's next?
What's next?
Well, I have another book. It's called Alaskan Humble Pie, and it's in the last stages right now of editing, and we're actually doing the page layout now, and I'm hoping that it will be launched this spring, and it's about Alaska.
Well, if you can let me know when that happens, I'd like to go to Hawaii again, so I'll need a reading material. So if we could kind of sync up on that, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Where did the inspiration from this one come?
So it was interesting. I was just kind of watching, this is kind of silly, but like Britney Spears or just the, famous people that sometimes are surrounded by this paparazzi or this environment that seems toxic. And I always thought, well, they just need to come to Alaska and have just some good, hard, authentic living, let's go work on a farm or something like that. And so then I met Arthur Keyes, who was the Deputy Commissioner of Agriculture under Bill Walker. And so I went out and spent a couple days with Arthur and his family out on their farm in Palmer. And I fell in love with it. I mean, I just loved what they did. And so I married those two ideas, and I realized the book hook came which was a young rock star, very successful, wildly successful, but was kind of falling from grace. And I'll just say it and you guys can edit it out. Had sex with a U.S. senator's wife, and the U.S. senator didn't like that and beat him up on stage. And his manager.
And this isn't reality TV or anything, right?
No, I made this up. And so the manager of this young rock star said, "And you're out of here. You're on a one-way ticket to Alaska, and you're going to go stay with my sister who's running a farm in Palmer. Goodbye." So he arrives in May, mad, sullen, angry, but spends the whole summer learning humility, learning hard work, learning the how to find himself again, how to find joy in music again. Meets a young woman from Big Lake. They go kayaking together. He writes a song about how much he loves Alaska. He performs it at the Borealis Theater at the Alaska State Fair at the end of the summer. 25 million views. His career is reborn, and it goes from there.
That's so great. That's so great. I can't wait. I'll be first in line. So that's fantastic. And then what do you want to see? What do you want to be close to next? So when you say what's next, I want to know, like, I think I worked for Dr. Voke for about 20 years. He was my mentor and left me so many Vokeisms. And one of them, he said, when you die, you take nothing with you, but what you do leave behind is your reputation. And so when you talk about integrity, you talk about all of those things, what footprint would you like to be Natasha's? A little deep this morning. I didn't expect this, so this is unscripted for sure.
Well, I mean, my husband's always said, "What do you want on your tombstone, or is it your epitaph?" Mm-hmm. I would love to be known for passion. I think I said the words passion and purpose, and authenticity, and love for the state, and to inspire others to join in whatever makes sense for them in their local communities, whether it be a community council, trash pickup, volunteering at their school, volunteering at the many, many, many nonprofits that we have. Everyone needs help. Running for assembly, running for mayor, running for representative or senate, running for governor. Just be involved. School board. Oh gosh, we definitely need people to run for school board. Just be involved. Pay attention. Lead with love.
I would say that I happen to be in your dad's Rotary, so I really didn't make that connection this morning. I'm completely unprepared for today, so this is honestly just an organic question and a compliment to you. He came to Rotary a week before he passed, dressed and grabbed the door for me. And when I first joined Rotary, I didn't know that people weren't asking him because he did so much in the state. And he bought raffle tickets from me. And I had so many people stand, "Hey, you're not supposed to ask Ed for raffle tickets." So he was always so kind and gracious. And when you mentioned that you heard those words in the middle of the night, it does come full circle. I can say, you sound just like him sitting across the table. So I appreciate the gift of your time for sure.
Thank you, Paula. It was absolutely an honor to be here today. And I love what you're doing with this podcast, and I wish you the best of luck.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.